This video is going to be my way too late and overdue reaction video to the Lions 21-20 win over the Chiefs on Thursday Night Football in Arrowhead. Pretty interesting. I didn't get the chance to watch the game live, to be honest with you. I saw the score maybe around 4 a.m. this morning, got up early to watch it, try to produce this video. Normally, I have these out after the games are played, a couple hours after the game's played, maybe 90 minutes. I thought it was pretty interesting that the Lions, a stat that was reported, that they had not won a season opener since 2017. I didn't realize that, number one. Number two, in a season where they come in with so much hype, deservedly so, now it should be obvious that the Lions fans were looking, that was important to win, even on the road, even against the Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions. Second year in a row that the Lions have opened the season against a Super Bowl caliber team. Now, maybe last year in week one, most people didn't realize that with the Eagles, but they went on to prove it and had a 10-point or double-digit lead at one point during the Super Bowl. Lions, look at those two games, 38-35, lost to the Eagles, now 21-20 win over the Chiefs. People can say what they want about Travis Kelce not being there, Chris Jones not being signed. That's reality. But this Lions team is going to compete with everybody. I think that should be obvious if you watch the game, if you watch the gameplay. A bunch of hard-nosed, talented, and tough football players. They probably were all tough before they came to Detroit, either through free agency or the draft or whatever. But whatever they're doing there in Detroit under Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell and their offensive and defensive coordinators is working. It looked like a ton of Lions fans in the stadium. I watched the broadcast angle, like I said, around 4:30 or 5 a.m. this morning. Try to get this video done. So I'm guessing some Chiefs fans must have sold their tickets out because the Lions season tickets at home, are all sold out. And the fans definitely brought energy. You could hear them sometimes between positive Lions plays. And then the players on the field, Detroit seemed to bring the emotion. I don't know about you, but I love C.J. Gardner-Johnson's mentality. To me, after Pacheco seemed to get hurt, it looked like C.J. Gardner-Johnson was trying to goad Pacheco and the Chiefs into that talking game that he seems real comfortable with, that maybe other people are not. Number one. Number two, I don't know if you guys saw it, but Pacheco kind of bucked or jumped at C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and Gardner-Johnson didn't flinch, didn't blink, didn't move at all. I watched the replay like 3 times, like looking for any. It reminded me of when Matt Barnes tried to hit Kobe or fake like he was going to hit Kobe on an inbounds pass, and Kobe didn't flinch. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, to me, seems like that kind of guy. Look, the defenses did a great job for both teams. I thought the Chiefs had a really cool game plan. Those corner blitzes off the edge caused a lot of trouble in the run game and the pass game. So credit to Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs DBs, outside corner specifically, but sometimes it was a slot blitz, for recognizing the situation when they wanted to blitz, probably by game plan, and then checking into it on the field. Looked like there was some communication pre-snap between those DBs and the safeties behind them. I'll let the stats show up here. Some of the font there might be too small, but look, I didn't think that the Lions' offense was smooth. I think that's obvious. They did have some impact plays. It wasn't just Amon-Ra St. Brown. I thought Sam Laporta showed out. I thought he played a fantastic football game. There was one catch on maybe a 3rd and 8 or something like that, where Trent McDuffie tackles him, and my notes say, I'd like to see Laporta break that tackle and get the first down because he ended up like a yard or two short. But other than that, man, the versatility that he showed, wow, I thought he opened my eyes. Not that I didn't think he was a good player, but you're talking about a guy who had a key block on David Montgomery's touchdown run late in the game in the 4th quarter to cap the 8th possession. Additionally, he was lining up at outside wide receiver often. The versatility that he appears to have, I think, is off the charts. Jahmyr Gibbs looked really tough to tackle for the Chiefs. Lions didn't generate a lot of long drives. We would expect more out of their offense. But look, the Chiefs have a ton of second-year talent guys over there on defense that played a role in holding the Eagles down in the second half of the Super Bowl. They basically took the Eagles' run game away if it weren't for some of the runs that Jalen Hurts had. Now to address the elephant in the room that a lot of people talked about on social media, I saw the posts, like I said this morning. What the Chiefs' right tackle was doing, and the other offensive lineman, was clearly bending the rules or taking advantage of the rules. There was at least 2 obvious holds that they actually showed the replay twice. NBC did. And it was quite obvious. I'm like, how did that not get called? Number one. Number two, to me, my understanding of the rules, Jawaan Taylor was moving a lot pre-snap, and no one else was on the offensive line. It's not like the whole offensive line is twitching like that, moving a little bit. What he's trying to do is, to me, he's trying to throw off Aiden Hutchinson or whoever the edge rusher is there. He's trying to get that guy unable to react to his movement. Because he's twitching so much, you can't trust any of it. So he's trying to give the guy a late start. It'd be interesting to see if these teams play again. Of course, if they do, it's in the Super Bowl. It'll be interesting to me as well to see if the game is officiated differently as the season rolls on. I mean, if the refs are comfortable with being criticized the way they were last night and the way they're going to continue to be, if Jawan Taylor does this all season, the rules analyst for NBC, I thought he said it best. It's not even close on some of those snaps. I'd be interested to see, like I said, if there's more penalties called as the season moves on. But they did call 2 of them on the last drive for the Chiefs, or maybe it was the next to last drive. They called an obvious hold and an obvious false start. Along the same lines, I thought the Lions had a lot of trouble generating pressure other than Hutchinson in the first half. Now, in the second half, I thought Charles Harris got pressure 2 or 3 times. Josh Paschal had that huge play on that jet sweep. James Houston, the fourth, I thought got 2 pressures. One of them ended up being a QB hit when Mahomes, he's got a hold of Mahomes' ankles, both of them, I think, and Mahomes is able to throw the ball out there. It looked to me like the Lions' D ends, outside linebackers, edge players, started to use more inside moves to defeat the tackles' deep pass sets generally. Overall, I think this win reflects well on the Lions, in terms of reflecting the depth of the team and how you can win games, in this case, on the road against a Super Bowl champion with 45 really good football players, or 50 or 53. Now, maybe there's some people who would say, well, they don't have any stars. If you say that, you haven't seen Amon-Ra St. Brown play football, for real. I mean, and I think Aiden Hutchinson is one as well. But there will probably be a lot of people, non-Lions fans or people who don't watch much of their film, who would say they don't have any stars or just a bunch of really tough dudes. I would agree with the second part, not necessarily the first part. Talk about the 4th down fake for a minute. From their own 17, look at the guy. Speaking of tough, mentally tough, physically tough football players, look at who was on the field when Dan Campbell called for that fake punt. I think 4th and 2, maybe 4th and 2.5. Jalen Reeves-Maybin catches the direct snap and barrels up the middle, or maybe a little bit on the left side for like a 2.5-yard gain. It didn't look like he got it by a whole lot. He did clearly get the first down, but it's not like he got it by 2 yards. Who was on the field? A bunch of linebackers, tight ends, and a fullback. Jason Cabinda, Rodriguez, Jack Campbell. I thought I saw Brock Wright on the field. I thought the left guard and the right guard was actually guards, meaning positional guards. So I can't wait till the end zone angle comes out so we can confirm who was on the field, and then maybe look at punts later or earlier in the game, see if the Lions changed personnel. One of the reasons why they may have executed the fake, or one of the reasons why they may have attempted it, I should say, is there's no D tackles on the field for the Chiefs. I saw linebackers. I saw strong safeties. I saw Jerick McKinnon. I thought I saw another offensive number. I've only watched it like twice this morning, so I can't wait till the end zone angle comes out. Assuming nobody from the NFL YouTube channel does a video breakdown of it, I will do one because special teams is interesting to me, and I think kind of underrated. Super play call by Dan Campbell and the special team staff there. Really caught the Chiefs coaches off guard, which is rare because the Chiefs coaches have been in a lot of important football games, in the Super Bowl playoff games, etc. Credit to the Lions defense. I know people talk about the Chiefs having a lot of drops, and no doubt there was some. At least 2 of them, I think there was, I don't mean interference like pass interference. At least 2 of them, there was other players in the window. One of them by Kadarius Toney when they ran a mesh concept. And then I forget what the other one was. I think it was deep right side. It looked like the ball kind of went off the fingertips of a Lions defender, and then it goes down as a drop for the Chiefs wide receiver. I think it was Sky Moore. But to me, it's tough to catch the ball. I don't know if you've ever done it. We've practiced it before, where you put someone 8 feet in front of you and you have them wave their arms and don't touch the football, or maybe sometimes touch the football. It's difficult to catch that ball when it's redirected or shifted off its intended target. So what I do normally in these reaction videos, if you're new to them, is I go flow by flow with the game. I'm making my notes at halftime. What I do want to talk about first is the 8th possession, and then I'll kind of rewind. If you guys are interested, let me know in the comment section as this plays. But 8th possession, down 20-14. The Lions go down, take a 21-20 lead. This 3rd and 12 throw, There was a period there where the Lions had, I think, 2 delay of game penalties. I'm talking about over like a 3 possession span, where they had 2 delay of game penalties, and I think they had another snap that they got off only with 1 second remaining on the play clock. Things looked a little sloppy at times on offense, which to me is not what I expected at all. I have the down, the distance personnel, and then, run pass scheme, and then the result all the way over to the right. That 3rd and 12 throw to Josh Reynolds, I think it was like a deep in cut, maybe a dig from the left side. It was an empty formation, and Goff's in the gun. So and I got to give Chris Collinsworth credit. There was 3 or 4 times less. Well, I didn't watch it last night. There was 3 or 4 times on his commentary when I was impressed by his willingness to be non-biased. Now, I thought there were some times where he was clearly biased. I mean, he clearly thinks the world of Patrick Mahomes, as he should, and goes out of his way at times to highlight that, occasionally to the detriment of other quarterbacks and other players who did something fantastic on a particular play. But give Goff credit. This 3rd and 12, down 20-14 from their negative 23-yard line, a strike to Reynolds for 17 yards. And then an amazing catch by Brock Wright on a tipped pass. Now, it doesn't go down as an amazing catch, I guess. It's not a highlight reel catch, but it's a play-action boot concept. Talking about the very next play. It's about middle of your screen, 1st and 10 from the negative 40. And it's under center slot eye. And play-action boot by Goff. And I think George Karlaftis tips the ball just ever so slightly, kind of veers off its track. And Brock Wright's able to catch it with one hand for an 8-yard gain, kept them on track. And then there's a lot of plays of the game to talk about. And a lot, various people are going to have different opinions. The one that sticks out in my mind is the 3rd and 1 from midfield. I think the Lions are in 11 personnel. So 1 running back and 1 tight end. And the running back is Montgomery. The tight end, I believe, is to the left-hand side of the formation. Amon-Ra St. Brown is at fullback. And I didn't notice it until the NBC broadcast gave you kind of the end zone angle, kind of zoomed up behind the offense. That camera that sits there that you can see sometimes from the broadcast angle, and occasionally from the end zone view once the all-22 and end zone comes out. Amon-Ra St. Brown's at fullback, and they run power. He ends up kicking out Karlaftis. Now, I think Karlaftis was being engaged by someone, and he kind of flashed to the outside. I believe what the Lions were doing there was by going 11 personnel, because they were in 21 personnel. The play before that, Montgomery and Gibbs were on the field. I'm talking about the 2nd and 2 from the negative 49. Again, about middle left part of your screen in terms of 2nd and 2. The very next play, they're 11 personnel. So what do the Chiefs do? They go with their nickel. So putting Amon-Ra St. Brown in at fullback, I presume that what Ben Johnson's trying to do is to get Amon-Ra St. Brown to be able to block a DB, a nickel safety, a nickel corner, something like that. I don't think he wanted him to block George Karlaftis. Karlaftis kind of flashes or stems to the outside. He's being engaged. Amon-Ra St. Brown ends up kicking him. The pulling guard wraps through, and Montgomery gets the 1st down. It was only a 3-yard gain, but I mean, how many receivers, not just right now, hell, how many receivers in the history of football have 200 catches in a 2-year span, and their offensive coordinator asks them to line up at fullback? Maybe you do that on a pass play, but he's asking them to kick out a player on power. How does Ben Johnson find the time to practice all this stuff in practice? I have no idea. But that play to me just tells you what they expect if you're a Lions player on offense. They expect you to block, and they expect you to block well. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, a guy whose career, what's his career trajectory? 200 catches in a 2-year span. Like, if he has 600 catches in 6 years and retires, is he a Hall of Fame guy? I don't know, but the numbers are ridiculous. And they put him at fullback on a 3rd and 1 from midfield on the road against the Chiefs, down with, I think, about 9 minutes left, something like that. Unbelievable, if you ask me. And then from there, you get a 33-yard catch by Reynolds, a deep curl. I thought it was a wheel curl concept on play action. 1st and 10 from the 47. Very next play, Montgomery, 6-yard gain off the right edge, and Sewell and Laporta execute a fold blocking scheme. Sometimes you call it Geo ISO, but Sewell steps out to the 9 technique, or whoever's lined up over Laporta, and Laporta folds down. Now, it may have been a trap wham concept, because I know Ben Johnson runs that a lot, but I only got 2 looks at it. It's the 6-yard run, preceding Montgomery's touchdown run, which, oh, by the way, Laporta had another key block on that one. Super impressed by that guy. I don't know if you're a Lions fan, you listen to this long. First of all, thank you. Second of all, my reaction videos are normally out quicker than this. They're normally, hopefully, a little bit more organized than this. But I thought this 8th possession showed the tremendous depth that you have there, because I've talked about Josh Reynolds with 2 catches. Talked about a great catch by Brock Wright on a pass that I believe was tipped. Maybe it wasn't. Jared Goff with some great throws. Amon-Ra St. Brown with a kick-out block. And then Sam Laporta, a rookie, with 2 key blocks on the final 2 plays. The depth of this team is shocking. Got to give credit to Brad Holmes for bringing all these players in, either through free agency or the draft. And it showed up. The depth of the team, I think, showed up here on this drive with so many guys making plays. And then another thing to add to the weight of that possession is they faced a 3rd and 12. And then all those guys, Reynolds, Wright, Laporta, Montgomery's running hard, don't get me wrong, St. Brown, all those guys made plays in terms of blocking, being where they were supposed to be. I'm just super impressed by that. I don't know if you are. Feel free to let me know in the comment section if you're not as impressed. All right, so overall, let me resize this a little bit so you guys can see it. If you guys are able to see that well, hopefully you are. That's the defensive stats. The font looks a little small to me. A balanced effort. I thought Alex Anzalone and Barnes played with a lot of force. I know, neither one of them had a sack. They didn't have an interception or any of those things that people talk about all the time. Brian Branch, who I haven't even talked about yet, yeah, the ball should be caught. That's true. But Branch kind of zones off on that play, the 50-yard pick six. Branch kind of zones off. Even if the ball's caught, Branch is in position to make the tackle. I think it's a 3rd and 6. Branch is in position to make the tackle, number 1. Number 2, if he doesn't zone that off, which may have been the call by the defense coordinator, it may have been a check on the field by Branch and the other DBs. If he doesn't zone that off and the ball's dropped, it's just an incompletion. 4th down, the Chiefs punt. That zone mentality, again, I got to give credit to Collinsworth. He did talk about it often, and people used to talk about it with the Patriots back when they would defend and defeat the Indianapolis Colts and Peyton Manning in the playoffs. They would play a lot of zone and, or physical, don't get me wrong with the receivers, but they would play a lot of zone, and if passes were tipped, then guys are in position staring at the ball, seeing a ball thrown to be able to make a play on it, and that's what Brian Branch did. It's a great catch. The rookie class, Branch, Gibbs, Laporta, really, to me, showed out here, and they deserve credit in the front office. They deserve credit for the people that they draft. Let's talk about some game flow. This one's gone on a little longer than I, to be honest with you, thought. But the second possession, which I talked about the fake punt already, I thought really showed more of the depth. Reynolds had a 21-yard catch. On that drive. Gibbs had a spinning run to the left sideline. I thought it was like buck sweep, or some people call it down sweep. He's great on those concepts. They kind of utilized Montgomery on the outside zone, inside zone stuff, and then Gibbs off tackle sweep stuff to the outside, which makes sense. But at some point they're going to have to be interchangeable in terms of what they're asked to do. You can't bring one guy on and run outside sweep to the boundary all the time. But 16-yard run on that second possession. And then the 2nd and 6 from the 9-yard line, Gibbs falls down on a down play where they're just basically taking everybody down, and he bounces it outside. It looks to me like he could possibly get a touchdown. I mean, they scored on the next play anyway. It was a 3rd and 6 from the 9, St. Brown on a mesh concept. It looked to me like Goff went right to left with his reads. I think he got to his 3rd read. It looked like running back, and then maybe someone up the seam, and then Brown on the mesh concept or the drag. But if it wasn't his 3rd read, it was definitely his 2nd read. But again, I got 2 looks at it live when I'm charting the game. And by the way, in the description, I'll have my game notes available for anybody who wants to download it. You're more than welcome to. It'll be a link in the description to a shared document. That second drive was not just amazing for the fake punt, but how many guys are making plays, how many guys are touching the football, and it wasn't It wasn't the greatest game offensively from Ben Johnson and those guys in terms of an execution standpoint, but a lot of people touched the football. I'll let the offensive stats flow here. A lot of people touched the football, as you can see down on the bottom left. I mean, Goff did complete 22 passes, but everybody had 1 catch or 2. Khalif Raymond had that 20-yard catch, I think, on the right-hand side in the 3rd or the 4th quarter. But moving on from that second possession after the Lions tied it up at 7, The Chiefs then score twice, I think, to go up. I'm sorry, they scored a second time to go up 14-7 late in the first quarter. I think it's their fourth possession. There's a 3rd and 17 there that's got to be concerning if you're a Lions fan. As I mentioned earlier, it didn't seem like anyone other than Aiden Hutchinson was getting pressure in the first half. And on this particular play, this 3rd and 17, well, the ball was damn near intercepted. There was someone there, I think it was 23. I think that's Jacobs. Someone was breaking on the ball and was probably a half step or maybe 1 or 1.5 steps away from picking it off. So it was a deep post by Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who's a talented player, tall, great catch radius. I know that he's had trouble being consistent in his career, but MVS was crucial to the Chiefs beating the Bengals last year in the AFC title game. He took advantage of Mike Hilton in the nickel. They didn't really let MVS get have a lot of catches and have a lot of impact tonight, but on this play, it's 3rd and 17. Chiefs were able to convert like a 33, 34-yard reception. And then down there on the goal line, Blake Bell, the tight end, backup tight end, 81 for the Chiefs, just sitting on the goal line for a touchdown. I thought you had a couple of communication breakdowns or maybe responsibility breakdowns down there. That one looked like it was possibly Anzalone. I'm not sure, though. Put the Chiefs up 14-7. Like I said, after a 3rd and 17 from the negative 36. I think the Lions left some work on the field there, and that was after a possession where they reached the, I think, 17-yard line of the Chiefs, and then Marvin Jones fumbled on that 3rd and 10 bubble screen. At that point, you're down 14-7 on the road. You've fumbled once inside the red zone, and you've given up, one of the Mahomes magic plays. You're not getting pressure. And then the Lions go out and get a stop to open the third quarter. That part I thought was eye-opening. Hutchinson had 2 QB pressures on that drive, and I thought Jerry Jacobs had 2 coverage snaps from the boundary on that possession. Now, the thing to mention is on the Chiefs' ensuing possession is the 3rd and 6 that Brian Branch gets a pick 6. It's the same coverage, same formation. And Tony's open. I mean, he's got Jerry Jacobs beat by a step. But again, Branch zones it off and doesn't leave all that space there. If you think about mesh or drags or whatever routes you want to call them, if people are in man and the front side, where we'll call the front side where Brian Branch lined up, and the front side guys, if they're run off on vertical routes or maybe they're covering another drag, like I said, mesh concept, or they're covering the running back out of the backfield, then that space is open. But because Branch zoned it off, even though Jacobs is, quote, beat there, the pass is tipped. Branch gets the interception, takes it to the house 50 yards, and I think Branch is in great position to make the tackle. 1 play before that, actually 2 plays before that, Jack Campbell had a great pass defense in the middle of the field. Actually, it was like left seam between the top of the numbers and the hash. And again, I got to give credit to Collinsworth. I'm not a huge Collinsworth guy in terms of listening to him talk about games or listening to him announce games, I guess you should say. And but I have to give him credit there. He identified it when they came back from a commercial break that Campbell had a big play there, and so did Branch. Look at all the impact that the rookies had in that game. They tied it at 14 there early in the third quarter. Chiefs' next possession ended on a 3rd and 4 when I think Hutchinson started to either be lined up at D tackle on pass rush downs, or he would stunt inside. And this case, on the 7th possession for the Chiefs, again, after the score was tied at 14, Mahomes tried to step up. And this time when he stepped up, Hutchinson was there. It really seemed deficient to me, the pass rush, when you had 2 traditional D tackles in there on the inside. So they might have to look at, Harris, Pascal, Hutchinson, Houston, those guys being used inside some. Maybe not Houston because he's a speed rush guy, but using those guys inside along with Hutchinson. They found a matchup, Hutchinson against the right guard. Lions have the score tied at 14, late third quarter, or mid-third quarter, excuse me. And their 6 possession ends after 2 really great throws by Goff. I mean, he had 1 to St. Brown and 1 to Laporta. And I thought, okay, they're getting things rolling here. And then on another 3rd and 2, that bubble screen that Marvin Jones Jr. fumbled earlier, this time Josh Reynolds dropped it. It's a 2-on-2 out there in the third down. And look, maybe the tackle's made, but you can't drop that ball. And I thought Reynolds played well, obviously, with some of the catches he had. So Chiefs get the ball, 5:50 or 5:40 left in the third quarter, take a 17-14 lead. Um, and I mean, they're moving the ball, but they get up top a 41-yard defensive pass interference on Cam Sutton, who I didn't think Cam Sutton was really targeted at all this game. Once the All-22 comes out and such, then we'll be able to see for sure. But it's up top to Jalen Watson, who's a underrated guy, I think, at receiver, and I think he even made some plays for them last year. Mahomes had a scramble on this possession where he scrambled up the middle again, 41-yard defensive pass interference. Then the very next play is a first and 10 from the 25-yard line, 8-yard completion to the tight end, Bell, and there's an obvious hold called here. I counted at least 3 that were pretty obvious. I'm not sure how they weren't called. Maybe this is the one that Collinsworth and some other guys talked about, but be that as it may, they didn't call it. 8-yard reception by the tight end Bell gets him down to the 17. And from there, you got an incomplete pass to Moore on a slant. Branch was there in coverage. Maybe the ball's a little low, but the very next one is the mesh with Tony, and it looks like two guys are, mesh, two receivers cross each other. And it looked like to me possibly the ball might have been meant for the other receiver. I'm not sure, but Tony wasn't aligned there, obviously, with what the Chiefs were doing. And the Chiefs settle for a field goal, make it 17-14. Next Lions possession, down 3, I think late third quarter, and they're unable to get anything going. You got the tripping penalty on Montgomery, on a great throw by Goff, and then excuse me, a great throw by Goff to Khalif Raymond that sets up a 3rd and 2. Chiefs do a wonderful job. I think Bolton covers the running back on a cheap play out in the flats, forces a punt. Chiefs get the ball up 17-14 late in the third quarter at home. And I mean, at that point, things gotta look. If you're a Lions fan, and myself, when watching it, rooting for them, it's kind of ominous. It's 2nd and 6, early fourth quarter. They complete it to Noah Gray, the tight end, the guy who supposedly replaced Kelsey. He breaks a tackle of Kirby Joseph. I think it was Kirby Joseph, and gets 24 yards up the right sideline. Gets to the 40. I mean, the Chiefs are sitting there, 17-14 lead, into the fourth quarter, on the 40-yard line, and then 2 huge football plays. One by Charles Harris, and then another one by James Houston, the 4th. So I think you have a 3rd and 2, and they do a jet sweep with Tony into the boundary. It was the bottom side of the broadcast screen, right side of the defense, left side of the offense. And Charles Harris just wins against the tight end. He dominated him. And then Barnes comes through on the same play. Barnes comes through and finishes the running back off. I would suspect that Harris and Barnes, both got credit for the tackle there. But it was a TFL. It was a 3rd and 1, actually, sorry, which, of course, led to a 4th and 2. And the field goal from 39 yards is good, 20-14. And again, on a night that I didn't think Ben Johnson and his offense did a great job, 12 and a half minutes left, something like that, in the fourth quarter. On the road, down 20-14. Not looking good after the delay of game creates the 3rd and 12, which I've already talked about that possession. And then they just win the game. Not only did they go down and score, but on another 3rd and 1, when the Chiefs got the ball on the next possession, Josh Paschal was the guy making the play on the jet sweep. And I have something to say about what the Chiefs do inside the 5. They use these offbeat plays, trick plays sometimes. You can call them trick plays. Shovel passes by Mahomes. In the Super Bowl against the 49ers, remember they ran the single wing. Last year, I think they all lined up in a circle, and they all, ran around in a circle and lined up in an unusual formation. Tonight, I thought they got cute again on 2 3rd and 1s. You had the one where Charles Harris and Barnes made the tackle for loss on Tony, and then the one that I'm referring to now, Josh Paschal makes a tackle for loss on the 3rd and 1. It's kind of crazy to me if you have a quarterback like Mahomes, who's so talented and so accomplished, and you're doing these things inside the 5 often. Maybe you're doing them to help him out. But in this case, I thought the jet sweep wasn't working for the Chiefs, number 1. Number 2, Tony was a guy that at some point during the game, some coaches for the Chiefs needed to recognize and say to each other, hey, it's not his night. It's not his night. Guy made plays for him last year, but certainly not last night. And then the crazy thing was the Lions' 9th possession, they get the ball back after the punt, chance to end it. And they have a 3rd and 5. They run the ball, don't get it. And then on 4th and 2 from, I think, around the 38, something like that, they have a pass deflected. which really, really ruined an amazing run by Jahmyr Gibbs with some great blocking downfield. As a 1st and 15, he gets 18 yards. And at that point, I'm like, okay, the Lions are going to close this out. And then they end up having to go for it on 4th and 2. Chiefs get the ball back, 2:29 left. It's like it's kind of easy to predict how this is going to end. And then just a weird final possession for the Chiefs. The ref finally called a hold. Well, they didn't have a choice. They had to call that one. And then the false start on Jawan Taylor, they had to call that one as well. 4th down pass, incomplete, ends up being over the head of a Lions defender. I kind of referenced it already. Off the hands of a Kansas City wide receiver. I think it was Sky Moore. Sky Moore, I thought played a pretty good game. It's very difficult to catch the ball thrown from 30 yards away. It's tipped 6 or 8 or 10 feet in front of you before it arrives. The trajectory is changed, and then sometimes it's even difficult to catch if the ball's not tipped, but there's a defender's arm or something in the way. If you've ever coached wide receivers or coached football at all, you know that you do that drill often. We would do it with poles, and sometimes we would do it with defenders' hands in the way. But it makes it really difficult to catch the football. So the Lions get out of there with a 21-20 win. My reaction video was super late. Hopefully it will not be this late again. You guys let me know if you, enjoyed the video. Hopefully you enjoyed the game. It was a very uneven football game from a Lions offense standpoint. And I'm sure there's Chiefs fans out there who think their team should have won. I saw some people saying, we had 9 drops. Basically just trying to blame the loss on the receivers dropping the football. Well, there's times where other guys have an impact, number one. Nobody talks about the 3 or maybe 4 balls that Patrick Mahomes threw that could have been intercepted. The 3rd and 17, forget who the DB was. Like I said, I think it was Jerry Jacobs, but it may have been someone else. Has an opportunity to catch the football. It's maybe a step late, half step late, 1.5 steps late, something like that. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who, oh, by the way, led the NFL in picks last year, he dropped a pick, a ball that I think he catches, 95 times out of 100. A third player dropped, I don't want to say dropped, had an opportunity for an interception. And then depending on your perspective, the great play that Jack Campbell made 2 plays before Brian Branch's pick 6. Jack Campbell gets his hands on a football. If Jack Campbell's in the window a little bit more and doesn't have to dive, then maybe Patrick Mahomes doesn't throw the football. But my point is, it's not always so simple to just say, oh, they had 9 drops. Patrick Mahomes doesn't deserve any blame here. Patrick Mahomes threw off the back foot a lot last night, and he does that. But there were some times where I thought his delivery and his technique looked very loose. Yeah, they didn't have Travis Kelce. But there was times where he's throwing, leaning back some, and I didn't think he had to do that. Now, sometimes you do that to change the trajectory on a deeper ball, or a sideline ball that you're trying to throw over someone. But I didn't think that Mahomes needed to do that all the time. I thought that the opportunity was there for the Lions to finish that game with 2 or maybe even 3 interceptions if a guy makes a great play. So you guys let me know what you think of the reaction video, what you think of the Lions win. I think a lot of the NFL world was looking for a 38-35 game. And instead, both defenses showed up and kind of ruined the show. But from a Lions perspective, man, this one shows how deep the team is, how they can win games with so many guys making plays when they're asked to. And in some cases, when the ball just jumps into their hands, like Brian Branch. Appreciate you guys' time. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section. And if you think other Lions fans would enjoy this commentary, this late reaction video, then please consider grabbing a link, sharing it on somewhere on social media to help this content get more reach.